Hello and welcome to the SC Playbook Big Bash podcast out of BBL 15 Supercoach Round 1, proudly brought to you by Mortgage Choice SCW. I'm your host, Tim Williams, and we're just 2 days out from the first ball of BBL 15. Very, very exciting times ahead. Here to chat through it with me and reveal our final teams. Dual overall Supercoach champions, dual meaning twice, the undisputed go to the format, Andrew Langley. Andrew, how are you, mate?
I'm excellent. I'm like everyone, I'm getting really excited. The closer we get to starting, the more worried I get about my team, but we'll get there.
And mate, it's funny how like this time of year, it's such a busy time heading into sort of the heart of the festive season. And, you know, for us Supercoaches, BBL starting, and you've already told me pre-show that one of the biggest conundrums that you have is not with your team exactly, but you have a family Christmas function on Sunday, a big drive around when team lists come out. These are the dilemmas that we Supercoaches have to deal with this time of year, isn't it?
Yeah, the advantage of winning this thing is I get a bit of a leave pass. So if I say I need to pull over from driving for 15 minutes to sort out what's going on when teams drop, they'll let me do it.
Yeah, I remember last year I was at a charity event and it was all pretty social, having a little mingle and a beer outside, and 45 minutes before teams dropped, it was the Heat team, and it might have been Wildermuth or someone like that dropped out and someone else was in, and I've just snuck off to this little room by myself for half an hour, just last minute mad dashes and fixing up. So look, the reality is there's probably going to be plenty more of it this year. Just hopefully you sit at home on the couch enjoying it and not out at a Christmas party when the teams drop. On today's show, guys, we're going to go through some looping strategy, whether or not we're starting with a looping player in round one in our teams. We'll explain that a little bit more shortly, but we're also going to go through a few of the options, player options to pick in your team if so. We're going to go through my final team reveal. I'm very fortunate to be able to have Andrew pick it apart and let me know if there's any issues with it, with his runs on the board over the years. Andrew's also going to drop his team. We went in depth about it last week, but we're going to talk about any changes he's made since last week's show. Guys, jump in the SC Playbook unlimitedly. The code for that one is 621897. There's $500 in cash to give away to top-ranked subscribers and non-subscribers who can win that and knock us all off, including Andrew himself. Guys, if you are tuning in for the first time of this preseason, as we do get so close to the start of the BBL, we've recorded plenty of preseason podcasts leading into it. We've done team analysis of each squad. We've done fixture analysis, cheapie specials. So go back, and if you cramming them into the final few days, go back and check out those episodes. Team reveals all over the place as well. We've also got the SC Playbook subscription for less than $2 per week, a 30-year price of your daily cup of coffee. You can subscribe at scplaybook.com.au in the menu and get you a ton of extra articles on website every week into our WhatsApp group with late mail, team news, all this sort of good stuff there. You can chat alongside the community, so go and check it out. And guys, again, if you're tuning in this podcast, you've probably found us already, but we have separated the cricket podcast and YouTube channels from our regular one, which houses the NRL content as well. So if you're into your Supercoach BBL or you're playing NFL, EPL, NBA, which we've also expanded to, they're all on standalone channels. So go and follow us along there. Now, let's get into that topic, Andrew, of looping strategy and whether or not we want to be nothing or not. And just to refresh your memory, so if you go back and you're not sure about what auto emergencies are and looping and you're a bit newer to Supercoach and how to do it, go back and listen to the first episode of the preseason. It was about 4 or 5 episodes ago. It's titled Supercoach 101, myself and Maxie Bride, and we go through all these things on looping and vice captains and what you can do in detail. But essentially, to be able to use this loophole, Andrew, you need a player in your team that isn't active in the competition. It's best when they're a dual position player, say a bat bowl or a wicketkeeper bat, because you need to be able to bring them into your team so that you can get a loophole player who's gone well off your bench. Again, guys, if you're unsure, just go back and have a listen to Supercoach 101 at the start of the BBL preseason about 5-6 weeks ago. What we want to do here, Andrew, first I'm going to get your thoughts on whether you're starting with enough player in your team, a non-active player, and then we'll go through some options there. So currently in your squad, have you got enough? What are your thoughts?
And the classic way I play this game, no, I don't have enough, but I haven't ruled out bringing one in. So I'm not going to go into the season saying, yes, I'm going to play one. I'm actually going in saying, no, I'm not. However, if an emergency or a VC score goes in my favour early, I will most likely bring one in. And that's kind of how I play the game. try and be flexible. If I don't really need one, to me, round 2 trades are a bit of a free hit this year, just the way the draw works. We're going to be trading out players that got doubles to come and those things. So once again, I'll assess in round 2. If I haven't got one in my team, I'll see how those emergencies go, and I'll decide whether I actually trade one in instead of trading in a different player. So, because by round 4, we've then got the teams on the bye, so we don't really need enough after round 3. So, and I guess the other factor I've got in the back of my mind is in round 3, we've got 2 games on the double, so I'm probably going to be lining up having 11 players from those 2 teams playing. So once again, there might be less need to have it. But I can see certainly out there a lot of people are split. It's a real 50-50 decision which way people go, and I'm leaning towards no, but I haven't ruled it out. But that decision will be made once I'll use known scores to make that decision. I won't make the decision off what ifs.
Yeah. And that's the key to it, mate. You mentioned about the draw and the fact that from round 4 onwards, we do have buys that start to creep in where you can use players on the buy for looping purposes as well. And when we get to those weeks, we know that the players on the buy, it doesn't matter where in the round it is and where your potential looping players are, the buy players will not lock out until the end of the round. We have in Supercoach a rolling lockout, so it's not like you have to pick your entire team by the start of game 1 when it begins. As long as your players haven't played in that round, you can still change a few things around and make these decisions across as it rolls on. So, mate, I'm pretty firmly in the camp of starting with a looper. And as you said, the way the draw has panned out, you don't necessarily need it. And as I said, you are one of the most flexible super coaches, in the game. You keep it very, very open across, in particular, the opening rounds. And by that, you mean, for example, like the Perth Scorchers who have the double in round 4, they have an early game in round 1. So a lot of people are starting some really undervalued to the eye Perth Scorchers players. And if one of them goes really well, let's say like a Mitch Marsh who people are starting with, and you need to get his score into your team, this is where you'll be going, okay, I'll go with a player in my team and trade them in, and you can go with it that way. I just think across the first 3 weeks, in your eyes, you're probably going, I can get another double game week player in while other people are going with a looper. But I just think the points that, might be missed by not having that double game week player that you can prepare for, you'll be able to get a loop in, a vice captaincy loop, one of these things, and you'll make it up pretty quickly. So I'm going to be starting with a loop player. And, mate, the 2 that I want to go through that I think stand out above all else, and it's Will Salzman at the Renegades, who we know is injured throughout this tournament. So I'll let you explain, but Salzman, he looks like the perfect looping option for those that are keen to do so early.
Yeah, Salzman's good. The Renegades have a good draw, so they're often playing later in the round. So you can have a look at scores and decide to use him. And Salzman is dirt cheap, so he's not going to use much of your bank. And he's dual position, so you can be looping on both the bat and the bowling line. So, yes, he's a great loop. The only thing against him is he does play second in round 1, so it kind of forces you into really Scorchers. Or if you're going to play a loop in round 1, you're limited to the Scorchers. Well, naturally, you can have a Sixers vice captain, but off the bench, you're limited to Scorchers. So I wouldn't be having Salzman on a team and then limiting myself to only having Scorchers on the emergency. I'd be wanting to work out who my emergencies are, and then if it turns out they are Scorchers, yeah, great, use Salzman, but might have to look for someone else.
Yeah, look, I'm not as sort of scared because I think there are some really good Scorchers players that you can use these purposes. We'll get to my team shortly, but I've got Finn Allen in there. I've got Aaron Hardy in there. I'm really hoping that Hardy in particular can go well in that opening game for the Scorchers against the Sixers on Sunday night, and then I can use Salzman for that purpose, obviously being the second round. And the Renegades' looping schedule for the entire tournament is pretty well exceptional. They play game 1 of round 8. That's the only week you won't be able to use him. And by then, we're going to probably have some other options and buy teams emerging anyway to potentially use. So I think he's perfect for it. He's dual bat bowl. He's $39,000. So he's bottom dollar in this competition. And I just think he's we know that he won't feature because of, his untimely injury for his campaign, but I think he's perfect for it. And mate, the other one, that you've alerted us to across different bits and pieces of SC Playbook content already is Alex Carey, the Australian wicketkeeper, and plays in the Australian Test squad. They do become good options as well. And Carey's a genuine option for people really wanting that wicketkeeper bat loop, and I know a lot are out there, and I had a good look at him. He's really cheap for his quality at $117,000. We know he'll be on test duties until later in the tournament where he'll come back as a great option. So if you're going to play the wicketkeeper loop, whilst he is a bit more expensive, I don't mind anyone wanting the Alex Carey option as well. The issue possibly they made is wicketkeeper, it just doesn't look like a crash hot option once again this year. So is it worth doing it there? What are your thoughts on Alex Carey?
I think he's a good option. The thing that works against him is if I'm getting a player like that, I want to sort of pick someone who I think will be available by the time of his double. And I think the last test finishes the day before his first game of the double. And so the timing means he's probably not going to be available for his double. But you never know. Tests are over in 2 days nowadays. So
correct.
he might be. But he's also at 117K. He's an easy switch to someone else if you need to do it. I think he's good. But now we have the flex position. I actually don't feel that looping wicket keepers is as important as it used to be. I think, I almost think of the wicket keeper is going to be my 12th scorer. They're often not because someone will fail in the team. They always do. But to me, it's not a super important position. I'd rather not spend up there and not even worry about looping. We've got two, in round one, we've got two players on a double. We'll have either of the Hurricanes boys, Wade or McDermott or Philippi for the Sixers. Those two teams have got 3 doubles each this year out of the 9 rounds. So there's a lot of keepers just picking those two. You can have a lot of keepers playing doubles, so you benefit that way.
Yeah, no, very fair, mate. And was there anyone else as potential sort of these nuffs that you could use that you're considering, or are they sort of the top two that catch the eye or so?
I'm not sort of a person that usually goes for the nuff to get, because I worry about the cheap player suddenly getting picked for the team and throwing everything into disarray. I prefer to look at someone that's out for some reason, be it they're injured or they're unavailable for national selection, to someone who might be back in a couple of rounds. I think last year, a few people sort of noticed last year when I started Johnson, because he was out those first couple of games and I needed to loop in the first round, so I brought him in and people thought I was crazy. What am I doing? Because he wasn't that cheap. But then when his double came around, I already had him in my team and everyone else was chasing him. So that's what I'm looking for. So I'll be listening to the news about teams, about players who might not be playing round one but might come in. I have no idea who they are yet. I haven't heard anything this year, but that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, we'll keep an ear out and keep you updated on the podcast and across the website each and every week. This podcast will be dropping for every round of the Supercoach BBL season. Guys, if you're sitting there and you're absolutely battling for Christmas presents and you don't know where to start, but you've got a Supercoach-obsessed boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, sister, even your nan, grab them an SC Playbook t-shirt this Christmas Day. Might even be for a mate's secret Santa if he's into the great game of Supercoach. Job done. We've got a whopping 30% off sale on navy and white t-shirts on site right now, meaning they're just $28. So a nice cheap Christmas gift for you. And at the same time, guys, you'll be supporting SC Playbook for the time, the effort that goes into the podcast, the websites, all the different sports, the social media channels. So you can grab yours at scplaybook.com/shop. Now, we're going to go, Andrew, onto my team reveal, my final team reveal. Look, it's Supercoach BBL. You stay flexible. It moves quick. There could be updates, but as it stands, this is what my team looks like. Basically, we're going to chat through any contentious positions. If you see any issues with my team, I'm hoping that you do not. But I can sort of talk through a few of my thoughts and you can give us a bit of feedback. So in the wicketkeeper slot, I've got Ben McDermott starting. I think pretty well picks himself. And my bench selection, which I've actually updated from my initial team reveal article, I've got Finn Allen that's come in for Joe Clark. If I do need to chase a little bit more, free up a little bit more cash for moves, I can go back to Joe Clark, who's a little cheaper. But I just love with the early games in the round for the Perth Scorchers, Finn Allen, if he does go bonkers, I can make moves accordingly, particularly in round one. If he is to go really well in that first game at Optus against the Sydney Sixers, I can do things like move Ben McDermott down, maybe get Alex Carey in as a wicketkeeper, enough option there. The reality is I probably won't have to use him a lot regardless, but he is there if something does go well for him and he has a big day, and he's got the double in round 4. So essentially I run Benny McDermott at wicketkeeper for the round 1 and 3 double, probably just running for round 2 as well, with Finn Allen there for the double in round 4. Mate, any knocks on those two options?
No, I think that's all makes sense to me. You're looking to play a loop, and then you've got your double player as the on-field. And worry about it if Finn Allen goes off, or you worry about it then. And he plays first, you've got plenty of time to shuffle other players around in your team to make it work.
Yeah, exactly right. And it may even be a case of, dropping, say he does go off in that first game, dropping Will Salesman, getting Carey until they've only got the one nuff early on, and then I can use that in the batting position. It does take away from the potential looping in the bat bowl. But again, things we'll deal with as the round goes on. But you do have to make sure you have contingency plans in Supercoach, especially in that opening round. Mate, my starting batsman for week 1, Mitch Owen, who is my captain, Timmy David, Dan Sams, Jack Edwards, Tom Curran, and on my bench I've got Salzman along with my AE, my auto emergency in Aaron Hardy. Another one who, if Hardy used to go well in that opening game, I'll bring Salzman in probably for like a Tom Curran and get the loop opportunity there. And I think the only ones that have changed in this position of note, mate, since sort of my last team reveal is Tim David. Chatting to you last week, you've got me a little nervous. 5 games in the opening 3 rounds, and the big one is that we think he'll be batting at number 4, as he has been with the Australian team. If the Hobarts stick to the role that he's done for them for a long time, successfully last year, and he bats sort of that number 6 position, number 5 position at times, and he comes in for the last 5 overs, if the team is his name like that and Nikhil Chowdhury is above him, I'm not against going Chowdhury over David, and I could make the flip, but on the news that we have, sounds like he might be batting at number 4, in which case you've scared me. I've got him into my team.
Well, I think he's too scary not to have on a double.
Yeah.
He's going to go out and bash that ball 5 times in the first few weeks. So, yeah, I think he's just one you've got to have.
Yeah, and he's also playing that first game at Ninja Stadium down in Hobart, which is a batsman's paradise, as you know, and then the second game with the double at the MCG. So really good decks to bat on for him. And yeah, you're right. I am terrified into it, and sometimes you do need to go with the pack and not get too tricky with a few of these selections. Again, I think the rest of the selections do pick themselves. I was worried a little bit about having a bit too much of a template team and having 2 highly owned players. Having a look at the ownership stats of the players in my team, there are a bunch that are under that sort of 25%, and even a few under like 15% and 10%, which made me feel better. But I think of the serious super coaches out there, they probably would be a lot higher owned. But I don't feel too bad having a look at the player ownerships, mate. In my bowling ranks, Nathan Ellis, Ben Dwarshus. This is where there are a few more contentious positions. I've got Xavier Bartlett, Chris Jordan, Hayden Kerr, Shadab Khan, and Tanvir Sangha. Tanvir Sangha has come into my team in place of Kelly over at the Scorchers, who I just wanted another double player on my bench stashed for round 2. So Tanvir Sangha, whose role looks locked for the Thunder, he starts at a pretty good price. He's there ready to rock for the round 2 double. Xavier Bartlett has come into my team as well with the same idea that I wanted to start at least one heat player in my team for the round 2 double. Chris Jordan, very low ownership, very cheap, has a good role for the Hurricanes. And then Hayden Kerr is my other big question mark in my team. Hayden Kerr and Tanvir Sangha are the ones who I'm on the fence with a little bit. That'll be Sean Abbott related. If Sean Abbott's named for that first game in round 1, I'll probably drop Kerr. But if Abbott isn't there, and I suspect with that hamstring concern that he probably won't be. I know that Sean Abbott, he was spotted in the net with the Australian Test team during the week. He had a few balls off a couple of step run up, and he was having a bit of a bat. So that was a bit under a week ago, which doesn't scream with confidence if he'll be there. So I'm thinking Kerr there. Mate, any that sort of stand out there, or you have any question marks around in my batting lineup? Bowling lineup.
Yeah. Kerr's a tricky one. I really like Kerr, and if he gets named for that first game in Perth, yeah, that's great. But is Abbott going to play the second game, and is Kerr going to lose his spot in the team? That's what worries me with the Sixers bowlers. Kerr's in my team too, but I'm a little bit nervous, even if he's named, that he only plays that one game. The rest of the side is pretty well makes sense. You're playing the fixture, you're looking at those first 2 rounds. Tanvir Sangha is interesting. I know you're getting him in readiness for round 2, but he's cheap. And sometimes I think we're better off holding off and getting the cheap player in round 2, because if you've got to get 2 or 3 players next round, have you got the money to get those 2 or 3 players in? You might need to be targeting a cheap player so you can afford to price your players, if that makes sense. So, is he the type of player you're better off just waiting around? And if he does have a good first game, he'll go up a couple of grand on you. But you had him on the bench anyway. It's not like you're going to use his points on field. Is there a way you can look at how you structure your team to maybe not rely on such a cheap player? But, I'm just trying to be picky there. But
that's what we want, mate.
That's stuff I think about,
Yeah, and look, I've got $73,000 left in my cap, so I do have a bit of room to move, whether I take that into round 2 or whether I use it before then. Like, I've got an option to go I'd need to squeeze a little bit more money out, but I could go like a Tanvi Sanger to a Glenn Maxwell again. In that instance, you're getting a gun. I'm not prepping for round 2 double, but I am prepping for the Melbourne Stars round 3 double. So you're getting Maxi in early, who the scoring potential is obviously a lot better, but will cost a lot more. So that's one there. And I'm just looking at players, mate. Like, I'd love to add another Sixers player into my team on the round 1 double. None of them really fill me with a lot of confidence. Around the bowling lineup, that is probably because of the uncertainty around Sean Abbott and his role in this team and the impact that'll have, whether he's there or not there. Like, another one, and Maxi Bryden will kill me for saying this is, but Kane Richardson at like 80K, if we knew he was getting both games of the double, sure is at the twilight of his career, but he's dirt cheap. He's a quality bowler. He'll bowl good overs, but there is uncertainty again because of Abbott, whether he plays both those games. Maybe they opt for Kerr. I just don't know. But yeah, I was struggling to find more Sixers to bring into my team. I played around with Josh Philippe for a little bit, but I think he's going to be one of my bigger antipods to start the season. So, yeah, that's where we're looking at. I've also got Riley Meredith in my flex position. So that's where we're sitting on for now. I will update that team as we go in the WhatsApp chat in the SC Playbook community there and my article on the website with some analysis there before the first ball is bowled on Sunday. Now, guys, long-term partners of SC Playbook, Mortgage Choice, Cronulla, Sutherland and Wollongong, they're back on deck for the BBL 15 campaign. So if you're looking to get into the housing market for the first time, but you've got no idea where to start, the answer is Mortgage Choice SCW. Even if it's a plan further down the track, get that conversation started to find out where you're at and how you can make the dream of owning a home a reality. You might think you're 5 years away from getting in on the action of home buying, but when in reality, you might be well ahead of the game and might be able to do it right now. Best of all, it's free of charge because you listen to this podcast. Normally, it costs you $129, but it's a free consultation when you get in touch and mention SC Playbook. So to do so, hit them up on Instagram at mortgagechoice_SCW or give them a buzz on 02 9521 1611. Now, mate, let's get to your team. And as I said, you've deep dived into each position on last week's show. But since recording a week ago, I just wanted to ask you, I suppose, if there have been any major changes that you can tell us about or what your biggest headaches are in your side at the moment.
My biggest headache's Mitch Marsh. He's, a scary player to leave out. I had him in my team. I've had him out, in, out, I don't know how many times, but I think I'm now going towards Shadab Khan coming into my team instead of Marsh. Khan's got the double in round 2, and then he's an easy trade to Marsh after his double, and I've still got Marsh in time for his double. Now, Marsh could make me pay and come out and get his 100 in the first week. If he does that, once again, it's the smallest price rises happen in the first round. So if he does that and rises 10, 20,000, maybe I'll just get Marsh in round 2 and change plans. And that's one of the reasons I want to be quite heavy with the Thunder and the Heat players, is because I want to be able to, if I need to grab some players from elsewhere, I can do that in round 2 to correct my team. I think I've got a record. A lot of people say I don't start this game well every year, and I come strong, but it's because I often set up my starting team with the what-ifs. So, I mightn't have some of the cheap players that people are grabbing because they're a bargain. I'm actually going to start without them, but I'm going to have it so, I'll trade in the ones that go well, because not every cheap player is going to score well in the first round. Some will, and some will go really well, and, good luck to those that have them. But, I just want to be able to try and use round 2 as a bit of now I know exactly what batting position people are playing, how many overs they're likely bowling for their team. I know who I want to target now and try and use information rather than the what ifs.
Yeah, and I mean, that all makes perfect sense, mate, as it normally does with you. But I had a similar logic in trying to stack a few extra Heat and Thunder players for the round 2 double. And there weren't a lot of great options in my eyes that I felt confident about. 3 of the 4 that I've gone with, I am happy with, but I'd be happy to have more than that and just lock my bench in like that. So I've got Dan Samson, I think is fantastic. Shadab Khan, I think is fantastic. Xavier Bartlett, if you have the money in your cap, I think he's also an outstanding one. However, depending how your team is balanced and how it's set up, it makes it tougher at 128K. Tanvi Sangers is the one that I do have question marks around as well. You've mentioned you've gone pretty hard on these 2 teams. Who are the Thunder and Heat players that you've started with?
Oh, well, I've got Bancroft, who's probably not a gun, but that's part of my wicketkeeper sort of pitch. I've got Sams, I've got Khan, like we said before. Bartlett, I don't think Bartlett was in my original team. I've fitted Bartlett in there now. Yep. And the one that I'm is sort of balancing in and out of my team at the moment is a bit of a pod play, but is McSweeney. Just he's a bit pricier, maybe getting him in my team before round 2. He's one, he's one that's a little bit more expensive that I already have in my team because I know I'm going to have to, target a freebie. A couple of expensive players, so I'm trying to think, right, who do I want to get in and how much are they going to cost me? So it's part of the thinking.
Yeah, so again, like there's risk with any player in this game, but we know how role-based, like how important it is in Supercoach Big Bash. Chase these all-rounders, the bowlers and the batters, just the bowlers, whatever you can do, but batsmen only are risky, which is what I see with Nathan McSweeney at an awkward price. He also starts his campaign down in Geelong as well, which we don't like for batters. We know that. Terrible batting deck. So, you've got a similar position with Mitch Marsh, who we're not expecting to bowl for the Scorchers. Nathan McSweeney has class, but I think, Mitch Marsh, you sort of, counter the risk of his bat-only role with being one of the most explosive best batsmen in the game. That role with Nathan McSweeney, a tough early deck. He does have 2 great decks in round 2 to play on at the Gabba and into Manuka Oval, which again, Manuka's a batsman's paradise. Is the role enough of a concern for you to leave out? Because it sounds like you're tempted to go against it and take a bit of a punt.
What I like, and I want to see the lineup of the Heat before I finalise who I might go for, is the Heat seem to be struggling for players in that team at the moment, and part of that is bowlers. And I'm not sure who their 6th bowler is up at the Heat. And McSweeney's been bowling in Shield and getting a few overs here and there. So I guess it's taking a bit of a punt that he's going to snag the odd over in that lineup. Whereas I don't think, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think Marsh is going to be bowling. That's what I'm hearing, but I don't know. He might be. I'll be kicking myself if he does end up bowling. So that's part of it. It's sort of that, here's someone who has a chance to get an over or 2, might snag a wicket, get a few bonus points. Yeah. And what happens with those part-time bowlers, if they get a wicket in their first over, they often end up getting a 2nd or a 3rd over, and before you know it, they've got a couple of wickets.
Yeah, that's it. So I do find those week 2 teams a little bit tricky for that double, but again, a few to keep an eye out for. Mate, any other headaches in your team, or are they sort of the major ones for the time being?
They're the main ones. I think, like everyone, I'm loaded up. I've got 7 Hurricanes in the team. I'm still not confident which ones they'll be. Down the tail end, there's a few you could go any way on. So once again, it's probably looking at that team and trying to just take a punt on who it is. I'm thinking someone like Meredith I want as a death bowler, but I know he got injured a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't heard any news what's going on there. So do I take him? Do I not take him? Yeah.
There's not been a lot of injury news out around a lot of these players, Sean Abbott included, who, I've seen a tweet from, one of the reporters that snapped him in the nets the other day, but a lot of information that we don't have, which, as you said, mate, which makes the flexibility absolutely crucial to your round one teams and seeing who does count and what these team lists look like. And that's where these changes will come in. That's where I suppose if you do support SC Playbook and you're in the WhatsApp groups, we can jump in and we can update our teams and tell you what's going on from there and sort of have it all in one nice little place in the WhatsApp community, mate. As things stand, what are your captaincy options? And I suppose another one that comes in here, you're currently not running a loop. Maybe your players that start the round on your bench in your AE spots, they go poorly, but maybe your vice captain goes really well, and I suppose that'll come into your consideration with looping as well. Who are your VC and C for week one?
The VC at the moment in my team, it's sitting on Edwards, but it could be Doashish. I haven't made up my mind on that yet. That'll see. We'll see what the team lines up. But Edwards at the moment, I'm thinking. But I know, and it's a bit of I think more people will be on Dorshish. So, and it's VC. I like to be a bit different. You know, you've never forgiven putting it on Webster a couple of years ago when everyone else was on Maxwell. He got about 200 points.
I still think you're a lunatic for that, but it worked, so carry on.
And the captaincy, once again, I'm debating Owen or Ellis. I think Ellis will get my captaincy, not Owen.
Interesting.
Only because I don't expect Owen to bowl. So I'm leaning slightly towards Ellis. But once again, it's going to be when we see those lineups for the first time, I might switch and change. But you can be pretty safe to say that it'll be one of those two, but most likely Ellis will be my captain.
Well, there you go, because my next question was going to be Mitchie Owen is going to be very highly captain for week one. Could you go with someone like Nathan Ellison? You're more than could. It sounds like you're doing that. So I think I'm going to be a little bit plain Jane with Mitch Owen, but I like, where there might be some somewhat template teams where a lot of the more experienced super coaches pick pretty similar lineups. The opportunities to go against the grain can come into your captaincy and going something a little bit left of field there. And, mate, my last one I'm going to throw at you before we do finish up for the show. Again, we touched on it a little bit last week, but I think there's probably going to be a lot of people tuning into this episode for the first time as they scramble to get their teams together for round one. Currently no Glenn Maxwell, currently no Matt Short in your teams. They're both pretty well owned. I think about the mid-30% at the moment. Two of the best players in the game. We know Matty Short and the Strikers don't have a double for a fair while. Glenn Maxwell, though, has the double with the Stars in round 3. No room for these two, or are you still – I know you're maybe eyeing off a little Glenn Maxwell play, but what are you feeling there?
No room as things stand. They're just their price. I would sooner just try and get started and focus on the score involvements early, and then I will pull them in. Yes, if I end up having to play a loop and end up changing my team now, which means I bring in a player that's not playing, that might free up some cash, and I might decide, you know what, I'll bring Maxwell in and put him in my team. But I'm not actually convinced on Maxwell's role either. So he's one I've got a couple of clouds over. Is he going to bat 5 or 6 in that Stars team? And how much is he going to bowl this year? I'm not as confident in him as I was, in previous years.
That's it. I mean, like the bowling options in their team with what they may go are ridiculous between Ralph, Siddle, Hatchard, Swepson, Curran, Hilton Cartwright can roll the arm over. Hasn't in a while, but can. Marcus Stoinis. They have so many options, so it does hurt the bowling credentials. And as we said, granted, he had a lot of success with it last year because no one above him could get a run, but he batted quite deep down the order for the back end of last season. So I'm a bit the same. I think I just want to have a look at what his role is, because if it isn't batting, top 4, even probably top 5 worst case, and they do want him there as the finisher, then it's not a great role at his price point. But also we know what he can do in very little time. So no room for either of them for me. Hey, mate, that'll do us for the final episode of the SC Playbook BBL pre-season. The competition does kick off on Sunday night. We'll have plenty of content across the SC Playbook website, final team reveals, updates, all these sorts of things as we get closer to the game. We'll be back next week for round 1 as well. But Andrew, I know everyone appreciates your thoughts and taking the time to jump on. So thank you, mate. Good luck wrangling your way out of that Christmas party on Sunday evening, and good luck.
Thanks, Tim. And I look forward this year to having another person in the winner's circle for Supercoach BBL. Should be a good year. Hopefully someone from Supercoach Playbook.
Yeah, mate. With your history, I wouldn't be confident. There could be a treble coming in, so we'll see how it all pans out. And guys, as I mentioned at the top of the show, if you are cramming and getting a few of these podcasts in, plenty of information across all the preseason podcasts at SC Playbook BBL. So go and check those out. But for now, good luck in round 1.